You were never meant to fear death. Yes, that's a bold statement, because we've been taught to run from it, to avoid it, to treat it like the end of all things. But what if death was not an ending, but a return? What if the moment your last breath leaves your body, your soul begins its real journey, not into darkness, but into the mirror of everything you've ever become? This is not religion. This is not fantasy. This is ancient Hermetic wisdom, whispered through the ages by sages, mystics, and initiates of divine law. And what it reveals could change the way you live forever. Because in Hermetic thought, the afterlife isn't something that happens to you. It is something you are always creating, right now, through every thought, every choice, every vibration. The life you live now becomes the path you walk after. So if you've ever wondered, what happens when I die? How do I prepare my soul? What determines where I go next? Then stay with me, because the answers have been hidden in plain sight, encoded in ancient texts, passed hand to hand, soul to soul. Today we unlock them, not just to prepare for death, but to finally learn how to live. Take a breath. Let this truth settle into you gently. You do not end. What you call death is not destruction. It is not disappearance. It is not some divine punishment or cosmic accident. In Hermetic wisdom, death is understood for what it truly is: a doorway, a passage, a sacred crossing from one state of being into another. Because the soul is eternal. It is not made of flesh. It is not bound by time. It cannot be killed, buried, or lost. The soul is motion. It is consciousness. It is light in movement. And just as the body is born, grows, and eventually returns to the earth, so too does the soul follow its rhythm, not into stillness, but into evolution. The Hermetic teachings, especially as passed through the Corpus Hermeticum, tell us that life and death are not opposites. They are simply phases of the same cosmic rhythm, like inhaling and exhaling. To die is to shift frequency, to release one set of limitations and enter another field of perception. And what determines the quality of that next experience is not fate, it's not judgment, it's resonance, the vibration of your soul, the level of awareness you've cultivated, the alignment between your inner world and the divine law of the all. This is why in Hermeticism, preparing for death isn't about fear. It's about becoming conscious of the life you are building right now. Because the afterlife is not a destination. It is an extension of your current state of being. You will not suddenly become wise after death. You will not suddenly feel peace if you lived a life of inner war. You will not suddenly awaken to truth unless you begin to seek it now. And this isn't punishment. This is cosmic order. The same way water reflects your face when you lean over it, the afterlife reflects the soul as it truly is, unmasked, unedited, unafraid. And so the question becomes not, what happens when I die? But instead, what am I becoming in this life that I will carry into the next? The Hermetic path reminds us, death is not the breaking of the soul. It is the revealing of it. The illusions fall away. The ego dissolves. The distractions fade. And what remains is your truth, your frequency, your knowing, your connection to the all. So the soul that has cultivated awareness, love, harmony, and sacred intention in life moves forward easily, like a bird released from a cage. But the soul that clings to ignorance, fear, greed, and identity experiences death not as freedom, but as confusion, a wandering, a search for what it never chose to find in life. And that is why this knowledge matters now, because death is not something that happens later. It's something we prepare for every day through how we think, how we live, and how we love. You are not heading toward a final chapter. You are stepping through a sacred continuum, and how you meet that transition depends on how fully you choose to live this moment. Not someday, not when life is easier. Now. There is a law, not of man, not of governments, but of the universe itself. You've heard it whispered, you've felt its truth echo through your life. As above, so below. As within, so without. This Hermetic axiom is more than philosophy. It is the blueprint behind everything. And when it comes to the afterlife, it may hold the most important key of all. Because what happens beyond this life doesn't begin at the moment of death. It begins now within you. The realms you will pass through after this world are shaped by the quality of your inner life here. Let that sink in. The afterlife is not some randomized dream. It is a mirror, a continuation, a resonance that reflects the consciousness you've carried in your heart. In other words, your inner world becomes your next world. If you cultivate chaos, fear, selfishness, and numbness, you enter into spaces of confusion, fragmentation, and delay. If you cultivate love, awareness, stillness, and truth, you rise into planes of clarity, unity, and expansion. The soul doesn't arrive in paradise by luck. It vibrates into the place it most resembles. And that vibration is being shaped right now by your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, your inner dialogue. So ask yourself honestly, what is the world I live in, inside me? Is it tense or peaceful? Is it reactive or rooted? Is it closed off or seeking truth? You see, most people try to manipulate their outer world, their job, their image, their possessions, believing it will create peace within. But Hermetic wisdom reverses the lens. If you want a better afterlife, you must build a better inner life. Because the realms beyond are not made of matter, they are made of mind. And mind, Thoth tells us, is the creator of all. Your afterlife is not designed by someone else. It is designed by the pattern of your consciousness, by how closely it aligns with truth, with harmony, with the divine. This is not to shame you. This is to free you, because it means you have power. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are not trapped in some cosmic lottery. You are crafting your next experience by the choices you make right now. Not just in what you do, but in what you believe, what you feel, what you become. So if your inner world is clouded, purify it. If your mind is noisy, quiet it. If your soul is starving, feed it, not someday. Now, because what is within you will one day become what surrounds you. As within, so beyond. What is it that survives when your body turns to dust? What crosses the threshold when the last breath leaves your lungs? Not your name, not your title, not your achievements, not your followers, not your possessions. None of these things can follow you. So what does? The Hermetic sages tell us 3 things pass beyond the veil: memory, intention, and vibration. These are not abstract. They are the real currency of the soul. Let's begin with memory. Not just the mental memories stored in your brain, but soul memory. The imprints left behind by the choices you made, the love you gave, the truth you stood for, and the lies you believed. Every moment of integrity, every act of compassion, every time you aligned with divine truth, your soul remembers. Likewise, every time you betrayed your own knowing, every time you hardened your heart, every time you chose the mask over the mirror, your soul remembers that too. This memory becomes your signature, your soul's record, not to be judged, but to be understood. Next is intention. You are not punished for your mistakes. You are shaped by your motive. Hermetic law recognizes we are imperfect, we fall, we forget. But your intention, the why behind your choices, is more powerful than the action itself. Did you act from love or from fear? Did you seek truth or control? Did you stumble in your walk towards the light, or run from it altogether? Your soul is not measured by perfection, it is measured by direction. Lastly, vibration. This is the most mysterious and the most sacred. Vibration is the frequency of your being. It is not what you say, it is not what you know, it is what you are. The Emerald Tablets speak of vibration as the very language of the cosmos. Thoth writes that all things vibrate, and that the higher the vibration, the closer the soul moves toward unity with the all. Your afterlife is not based on reward, it is based on resonance. You don't ascend because you were good. You ascend because your vibration becomes lighter, more truthful, more refined, closer to the divine frequency of unconditional love, sacred knowledge, and harmony. This is why two people can live the same life outwardly, but vibrate at entirely different levels. It's not what you do, it's the spirit in which you do it. You could speak wise words and be empty, or you could say little, live quietly, love deeply, and rise like light through water. So ask yourself, what am I storing in my soul's memory? What is my true intention in this life? What vibration am I living at right now? Because these are not just spiritual ideas, they are the threads you are weaving into the fabric of your next life. The body dies, the story ends, but the essence continues. And what you carry with you will shape what comes next, so shape it well. You prepare for so many things in this life, for jobs, for relationships, for travel, for success. But how often do you prepare for what truly matters? How often do you prepare for the journey that comes after? The Hermetic path does not fear death. It reveres it, because to die well is to have lived with intention. Death, to the Hermetic soul, is not a tragedy. It is a transition from form to formlessness, from time to timelessness. And just like you wouldn't walk into a temple without reverence, you do not walk into death unconsciously. So what does it mean to prepare? It does not mean obsessing over the afterlife. It does not mean withdrawing from the world. It means living in alignment with eternal principles. Because how you live shapes how you die, and how you die shapes where your soul journeys next. Here are the keys Hermetic wisdom gives us. 1. Know thyself. This isn't about knowing your preferences, your triggers, or your story. It's about knowing your essence. Who were you before the world told you who to be? What is the divine spark within you asking to become? Self-knowledge is self-liberation, because a soul that knows itself walks freely beyond the veil. 2. Purify the inner temple. Your soul is a temple. And like any sacred space, it must be cleansed, not from sin, but from illusion. Clear your mind of noise, clear your heart of bitterness, clear your body of addiction and stagnation. In Hermetic thought, purity is not moral superiority. It is energetic clarity, the ability to let divine light move through you without distortion. 3. Align with universal law. Live in harmony with truth, balance, and love. Give more than you take. Speak what is real. Live what is sacred. The more you align your life with eternal law, the more your soul becomes weightless, capable of passing through the higher realms without resistance. 4. transmute suffering into wisdom. Pain is not a punishment. In Hermeticism, pain is raw energy meant to be transformed. When you carry grief with grace, when you turn shadow into insight, when you find beauty in the breaking, you alchemize the soul. You become more refined, more luminous. 5. Live as if you are already eternal. Because you are. Stop waiting for permission to be your soul. Stop living as though your time is cheap. Every moment matters. Every thought plants a seed. Every word vibrates into your afterlife. The Hermetic initiate prepares for death by preparing to meet their own truth, without shame, without masks, without fear. So ask yourself, am I living in a way that my soul would be proud of when the body falls away? Am I walking toward death with open eyes or running from it in unconscious fear? Because death will meet you as you are. And if you meet it awake, if you meet it clear, honest, and soul-aligned, then death becomes not a closing, but a becoming. You do not prepare for death by retreating from life. You prepare by living fully, truthfully, and with the eternal in your heart. That is how you live to die well. That is how the soul rises beyond shadow, and into the light it was always destined to return to. Now that we've prepared the soul, we ask the question so many have wondered, feared, and imagined. What happens next? Where does the soul go when it leaves the body behind? In Hermeticism, the answer is not a simple place. It is a state, a field of vibration, a realm not made of matter, but of mind and frequency. When the body dies, the soul begins its ascent, not vertically, but vibrationally, moving through planes of existence that correspond to its level of consciousness. The Emerald Tablets and later Hermetic texts describe multiple realms, each one finer, more luminous, and more unified than the one below it. These are not places of reward or punishment. They are planes of resonance. You don't get sent to a realm. You arrive at the one that matches your soul's tone. Let's begin with the lower planes, the densest. These are realms where the soul feels heavy, confused, still attached to the ego, still tangled in regret or ignorance. Many who lived unconscious lives of disconnection or fear, may first pass through these layers, not to be punished, but to purge, to see clearly, to remember what they chose to forget. In these realms, time is fluid. Lessons are lived as experiences. Memories rise and replay. There is often a slow realization. This is the life I created, and now I must understand it. But the soul is never trapped. There are guides, initiates, and higher beings who assist those ready to rise. And when the soul is ready, it lifts into the middle realms. These are realms of healing, beauty, peace. Here, the soul remembers more. The burdens begin to lift. There is light, there is reflection, there is integration. Some souls remain here for long cycles, processing, learning, resting from the density of form. Some choose to return to earth. Others continue their ascent. And then, there are the higher realms. Realms of pure light. Realms where individuality begins to dissolve into unity, where the soul no longer identifies as a separate being, but as a spark of the divine all. Here, time vanishes. Form becomes fluid. Communication is instant, telepathic, vibrational, radiant. These realms are not imagined. They are ancient. And Hermetic initiates trained their entire lives to enter them consciously, even before death, through meditation, ritual, and soul refinement. Thoth writes of the flames of the divine and the dwelling places of the masters. energies so vast and subtle that to stand in their presence is to forget fear, forget doubt, forget everything that was ever small. And yet, these realms are not out of reach. They are your inheritance. The only question is, what are you doing now that will shape where your soul vibrates next, not from fear, but from awareness? You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You are not locked into some cosmic plan you cannot influence. You are a creator. And the soul that realizes this, that owns this, that lives this, will rise realm by realm from density to light. Because the afterlife is not the end. It is the mirror, the result, the unveiling. And when you understand that now, you begin to build a heaven within, one that echoes far beyond this life. You've heard the truths. You've walked the path. You've remembered what your soul has always known. Now hear this, clearly, without fear. You are shaping your afterlife right now. Every thought you nurture, every intention you plant, every moment you act with awareness instead of reaction, you are building your soul's next home, not metaphorically, energetically, eternally. The Hermetic teachings do not ask you to escape this world. They call you to master it, to live so fully aligned, so inwardly awakened that when death comes, you meet it with a steady gaze. No panic, no regret, only readiness. Because you've done the work, you've tended your inner temple, you've refined your vibration. You've lived not as someone afraid of death, but as someone preparing for continuation. And that is power. Not power over others, not ego, not control, but the power to become your truest form now, so that the realms beyond recognize you not as a stranger, but as one who remembers the way home. So ask yourself today, what kind of energy am I carrying into eternity? Am I cultivating peace or resentment? Presence or distraction? Awareness or unconsciousness? Because the truth is this, you don't need to wait to die to know what comes next. You only need to look at how you're living now. The soul carries momentum, and yours is building direction with every heartbeat. So choose what elevates you. Speak what aligns with your truth. Let go of what weighs you down, and walk this life as if your soul has already crossed the threshold. Because in many ways, it has. There is no more waiting. There is only remembering. You are the architect of your afterlife. Shape it with light. Shape it with love. Shape it with the courage to awaken now. Because when this body falls away, you won't take your fears. You won't take your doubts. You'll take only what you became. So become something eternal. Become someone free. Become the soul you were always meant to be. If these words reached you, not just your ears, but your inner knowing, then let that be your sign. You're not just learning, you're remembering. Because the truth is, you've always known. You've felt the sacred pull in the quiet hours. You've asked the questions no one else dared ask. You've stared at the stars and sensed something familiar looking back. That's not imagination. That's your eternal nature speaking. And now that you've heard this message, you cannot return to sleep. You cannot unsee your power. You cannot unknow your truth. You are more than a body, more than a name, more than a life that begins and ends in time. You are a soul, moving through lifetimes, carrying light across worlds, weaving vibration into destiny. And the way you live this life shapes the path you walk after it. So don't waste your time waiting to be ready. Don't wait for permission to become who you already are. You were not made to drift. You were made to ascend. Start now. Speak truth now. Heal now. Release now. Love fully, fiercely, freely now. Because one day your eyes will close, And when they open again, may you rise into a world your soul already knows, one made of peace, of clarity, of harmony, and may you walk into it not with fear, but with recognition. You've been here before, and now you remember the way. So if this message lit something within you, if you felt the ancient flame stir again in your soul, then do not walk this journey alone. Subscribe, share this light, return to this circle. We're building a sanctuary, not of belief, but of remembrance. A community of eternal beings who came here not just to survive, but to awaken. And now your awakening has begun. Until next time, walk in truth, speak in light, and live as if your soul is already free, because it is.